All right, so good evening, everyone. This is the Village of Southampton Planning Commission meeting for the month of March. Today is March 6th, 2025. It is now 5:31. Before the roll call, we'll get up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll do a roll call. Michael Anderson is absent and sends his regards on R&R today. Michel Brogard is on the screen, connected to us from overseas. So, Michel, thank you very much for your dedication. I know it's 11:30 at night, and you kindly are going to be updating us on the wireless tower. Jeannie Strulas to my left, present, and Jake to my right, present as well. And I'm Christian Picot, your chair for this evening. Can we have a motion by Jeannie to approve the minutes for February 6th, 2025 PC meeting?
Motion to approve?
We'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Has everyone read them? Yes.
Yes.
We've got some edits. I have a question on this. Once you do the edit, Jeannie, then they get posted, I think, by Jolie onto wherever they need to be.
Right, so this time, because I wasn't there in February, I'll let Jackie know.
Okay.
You'll make sure that the edited minutes are sent.
Okay. So I'm not sure everybody can hear you. I'll just repeat what you said, which is because you were absent last month, someone else was doing the notes for you, and you'll make sure that these get posted to the site. We'll talk a bit about this, but when we had the public hearing on the tree legislation, I obviously got a number of phone calls and some interesting conversations. One of them that came through from the Board of Trustees is that it's clear that unfortunately maybe one, if two of the trustees listen to what we discussed during the Planning Commission. So what I'd like to do moving forward, because I can't expect them to go onto YouTube and listen to our presentation, is to have Eugenie, if it's okay, once you have the finals, to send them to the Board of Trustees with a heading, Planning Commission meeting notes, such and such dates, in the hope that they will read it so that they don't come back to us and say, gee, we didn't know you were working on this any longer.
So this is at the same time that it's about to be published? or
Yeah, I
before?
mean, if it's a month late, it's okay, but they should.
It's the same time, pretty
Yes,
much? Okay.
right. That
Not
would be
before.
awesome if they could get those minutes in the hope that they'll read it and no longer tell us they don't know what we're working on. That would be great. Okay, let's go into item number 4 on the agenda, which is wireless tower public safety update that Michel Brogard is going to give us. We were busy on that this afternoon. So Michel, just update us. Where are we on this project led by Diamond Communication, the tower operator?
So the first responders telecom tower project at the Windmill Lane Fire Station started in November 2023 is in full swing. The Southampton Village team and the Diamond Communications team are speaking and meeting regularly, and the emails are constant. The project mobilizes many aspects of the Southampton Village personnel, including legal, planning, building department, fire department, the Planning Commission, the mayor, etc. Deputy Mayor and Village Trustee Len Zinenti and Chair of the Planning Commission Christian Picot have been leading the charge. At least 10 people at Diamond Communications, the tower builder, are also working on the project. They are very experienced and have already built a tower on David's Lane about 10 years ago. The site survey and preliminary zoning drawings have been drafted. over the next month, the project needs to be reviewed by the 3 Southampton Village Land Boards, the Planning Commission, the ZBA, and the ARB.
The planning board, you meant to say.
Yes, the Planning Board, the ZBA, and the ARB. Thank you. Simultaneously, Diamond is pursuing several environmental and legal permitting processes at the county and at the state level. So far, the project is on track. The timeline gets refined and updated weekly. As of now, it looks like the tower should be operational and the carrier's antennas installed on the tower in early 2026. Christian, can you post maybe the Gantt chart so we can share it with the public?
Absolutely. For that, I would need you to elevate me as a participant on the Zoom. There we go. Join as a panelist. Thank you. And I will share the document, which I have. Bear with me. I got to go to the right one. Bear with me 1 second. I got to figure this out. So, project schedule. Here we go. That should work. Share. How the fuck do I share? Share. Does this work? Share. Here we go. Share. There it is. Okay.
Thank you, Christian. So I'm not going to go through everything, but as you can see, it's extremely precise and organized. This is something that the tower builder does every time they build the towers, and they've built hundreds of them. The delays probably will occur mostly on our side from the permitting process, which is probably going to last at least 2, if not 3 months. But we are also organized on that side with village planner Alex Wallach, who is coordinating with Diamond Communications, and with Eileen Powers, the village attorney, who has also been involved in making sure that the process of applying to the building department and the different land boards is all organized. One of the most exciting aspects of this Gantt chart is we're going to float a balloon somewhere in the summer, whereas people will be able to find out exactly where the tower sits and how tall it is. If there are no further questions, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, Christian.
Michelle, that's terrific. Thank you. Yes, we did have an organizational meeting today with Alex Wallach, who's in the room with us tonight, and Diamond, to explain to them what the land use, what the process is for the land use application. So this Gantt chart will get updated next week, and really in earnest, and thank you, Michelle, for sharing this with us and the public who is listening to us this evening. It's really moving along really fast. We're really trying to make sure that we have a project which we sort of, the prize is to get it done by the end of the year. But certainly if it slips, hopefully, certainly Q1 of 2026. To enhance public safety in the village is going to be very important, and the corollary to that is going to be to improve our wireless communication for not only a first responder, but all of the village residents. So thank you, Michelle, and I realize it's very late at night. You're welcome to stay, but if you want to peel off and go to bed, I understand you're an early riser. We'll leave it up to you, but thank you. Let's move on now to the next topic on the agenda. If I can find it in my various documents, which is the water tower project. We had a meeting water tank, very important to say, water tank project. We had a meeting with some of the senior people at Suffolk County Water Authority, which I attended in your absence, but you're going to cover that, Jake, for us, if you would.
Sure. I think just further enhancing what Michelle's great work is on the cellular tower, I was able to create an opportunity where we can further enhance for public safety our village water capacity. And this was an endeavor that really started in September of 2024. It has since progressed in a very productive fashion. And my thanks to Christian as well. Whilst I was in Texas, a constructive meeting was had by our mayor, our deputy mayor, Scott Russell, and key stakeholders from Suffolk County Water Authority to enhance our partial below and above grade water capacity tank. As my understanding, and I will double check this with the Deputy CEO for Operations, Joe Pokorny, and his associate Tim, that the capacity of the rendering will be all within our village property. So this addresses a unique opportunity of enhancing our water capacity for first responders as well, particularly when there are fires and high usage of water capacity in the peak months, coupled with the fact that we will have annuity-like income as it will be a build and use opportunity. So I will follow up from the February 24th meeting that took place with the key stakeholders and see what the next steps are, and I'll follow up with Scott tomorrow as well on the next steps. So certainly there seems to be a constructive path forward, and I think Michelle, following your lead, will probably do a project Gantt chart as well. Let me double check some crystallized steps tomorrow.
So my understanding is the action is for Suffolk County Water Authority to do a site plan to really figure out where the exact boundaries are between the village and the town at this pistol range, as it's known, which is basically to the east of North McGee. That was some of the rendering they presented to all of us at that meeting on February 24th was unclear where they all are. So they're doing a site survey. They'll come once that's done, and that's really for us to make sure that's followed up. We get this site survey, and then they're going to resubmit some plans, which I shared with you, Jake, at that site that would be, as you said, within the village boundaries, and sort of start the discussion. This is also not only is it 2 million gallons of water, to supplement the 500,000 on a tower, which everyone is familiar with, the Blue Tower on West Prospect, which is regularly empty, as you said, at 8 in the morning, and is creating a public safety issue. That's in the summer, post-irrigation, during the early hours of the morning. So that would be a 2 million in-ground tank, 2 million gallon in-ground tank, and yeah, it would also provide revenue for the village budget in terms of land lease revenue. So it has two benefits, one for the public and one for the funding. All right. So that's that topic. I am, unless there are any further questions on that for any planning commission members? No? Michelle? No? Okay. I'm going to turn this over now to what was going to be dubbed the SVP, the Southampton Village Partnership, which Jeannie has been very actively representing the Planning Commission to try to have this project up and running. So, Jeannie, I'll leave it with you.
I really don't have that much more to add, other than we did finally come up with the name of Southampton Village Partnership, SVP. We're refining the mission statement and brainstorming regarding some fundraising events, which has always been the gating factor in terms of seed money to get this off the ground. So we just met today right before this meeting, and we plan to meet pretty much every 10 days, hopefully, to really try to move this forward.
So from the Board of Trustee, you're sponsor, if you will, for this is Roy Stevenson.
Yes.
I think the other important point is to say that this is, whilst we're working on it on the commission, and whilst, as I said, sponsoring the board of trustees is Roy. It sounds to me, from what I understood, that this is not going to be a municipal project. It's going to be a private partnership, not a
Correct.
P3, public-private partnership. And that's very important for everyone in the public listening to this, that the idea of it, the mission of it essentially is to bulk up the shoulder season, amongst other things. And this is a private partnership. It is not sponsored by the municipal government, and you guys are trying to lift this up the ground for the community's benefit.
It's exactly right.
All right, just wanted to clarify that for
Yes.
everybody. So thank you on that. I mean, are there any sort of, let's call them short-term deliverable, where you're going to be able to, at some point, unfold a mission statement and a, more articulated, once you've spoken with all of the, let's call it ambassadors throughout the residents and animators of that?
Yes, hopefully. I mean, we have a mission statement that is getting tweaked based on the meeting we just had. So yes, hopefully in the next week we'll have a finalized mission statement. And
So we're hoping that you can be, open the kimono and tell us more about all this next month. Is that right?
I would hope so. It
Great.
keeps changing.
Okay, good plan. I know you guys have done a lot of work on this so far. Okay. On a different topic, number 7 on your agenda now, Southampton Town Liaison for the Planning Commission. Michael Anderson was kindly doing this for us over the last few months. Michael has asked me to find somebody else to do it. He really wants to focus on his 2 key missions, which is to be an ex officio on the tree committee, as well as actively managing our deer management program, which is taking a lot of his time. So I went around and found Jeannie Zdrulas, who came back to me a couple of days ago after we met and discussed it and thought about it, and was willing, ready, and able to take on that task. And Jeannie, you and I will spend some time trying to figure out exactly what we're trying to, how you can provide this liaison role, and how we can get informed. I think the mission at the end of the day is for the commission, elected official of the village, not find out stuff from the newspaper. At the end of the day, there have been projects like Liberty Gardens that were going on in the town that no one seemed to be around aware in the village upstream. There were issues on battery energy storage system, BESS, as another example. We found out that there is a renewed town master plan effort that's being worked on through the press. We got to be working with the town, learning what's on their agendas and being aware of what they're up to. And when it concerns the village, which is 6.5 square miles out of the town of 65 square miles, whilst we're only 10% geographically, we're far more important when it comes from a revenue perspective for the town, and therefore should have a say and certainly should learn what they're working on. So that's really the effort of the town liaison that you're going to help us with. So we really appreciate you being willing to step up given everything else you're doing.
Happy to help.
The town master plan discussion is an interesting one. That will require special attention on that. There's obviously 2 ways to participate in it. One is be part of that task force. That's up to our mayor to figure out with the town supervisor if we can have a seat at the table. He still, I think, needs to do that. And if it is, we have to figure out who that is. It'll probably be a trustee. And if it's not, then we're going to have a, let's call it a watch person on the bow of the ship to figure out what every steps are of the town master plan evolution and any public hearing or participation, particularly as it pertain to any impact to the village community, especially concerning traffic and density in and around County Road 39 or elsewhere that will that could negatively impact us, so that we have a say in there. And so it's going to be important to have someone really track this master plan of the town. So that's our objective. Any questions on that segment?
We're actually working on 2 urban plan projects, one in Florida and Texas, so happy to chime in,
Okay.
help out Jeannie.
Okay.
And I, have known 1 or 2 of the township level people too, but we'll follow your lead and the mayor's lead, see what they suggest.
Yeah. Okay. The town liaison is really informational. The town master plan is really going to depend where we sit in the bus, whether it's in the front or some of the middle seats. I don't know.
I don't get involved in the politics, I'll just help out.
But thank you for that. Handing it over now in Section 8, since we have Alex with us, are there updates other than, obviously, you and many others were on this call today on the tower, and we've gone through this with the planning process, since you're going to be driving that. Are there other things that you're working on that the commission and or the public should know in terms of what might be relevant?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good
maybe the
idea.
podium so we can hear you.
Sure. Yeah, so you mentioned the cell tower. We did have a coordination meeting today. We're anticipating that application will probably come through sometime this month. We haven't seen it yet, but when we do, it'll be distributed and scheduled for hearings, so the public will have an opportunity to see the plans and also to speak at public hearings, both for the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and for the Board of Architectural Review. The Planning Board is going to take the lead in terms of the environmental review that's going to happen, as they typically would in this situation. And I think all the boards know what to expect, so I think we're all on the same page about how that process is going to move forward. Some other village efforts, we've talked a little bit about the workforce housing code. We still don't have a date for the public hearing for that, but I know that's something that the mayor and the trustees are looking at. So when there's an update to share, I'll let you know. The survey of where there may be historic structures in the village is ongoing. That project is expected to take about a year because there's a lot of different areas that they're looking at, and they're doing a lot of research to determine where historic structures may exist. And that's really all they're doing at this point, is just doing their homework, diving through the archives, looking at research, seeing what exists, what survived. So it'll be a while before we have a recommendation to the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. Trying to think of other planning efforts that are moving forward, unless the commission has any questions or anything in particular you'd like me to address.
So a couple of points from our discussion on the tower today in terms of the planning board. As the first land use board, and correct me if I'm wrong, my recollection is that there could be something at the April 21 or the March 5th planning board meeting?
May 5th.
May 5th, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
just
April
based on
21
the-
or May 5th, is that right? Or
Yeah.
We hope, we think, we don't know. It hasn't
Exactly. Yeah.
submitted,
There's been
but
no
that's kind of a
application made to the
guidance.
village, but based on where we think they're getting ready to make an application, that's what we're looking at on the calendar, because of the mailing requirements and the fact that we're going to send it out for a review for our planning and engineering consultants to provide that input and expertise to the land use board.
Okay.
So depending on when they make the application, those are the dates that we're looking at for kicking off that process.
And so thank you for that. The other question I had was on the historical district extension mapping and work that you were describing. There was a grant, I think, for $40,000. Was there a match by the village?
Yes. I don't have the exact figures with me. A lot of that match had to do with in-kind services. So a lot of that is staff time. A lot of, including myself and some of the clerks assisting to pull records. A lot of the members of the board have also volunteered their time or will have volunteered their time to review drafts and things like that when we have that available. I believe there was a cash portion as well, but I can get you that information.
Yeah, I seem to recall that. Jake?
Alex, on the workforce housing one, we're working directly with Greystone Housing Impact Fund in HUD, actually in 3 states, Maryland, Florida, and Texas. So if you need any help on some criteria guidance on workforce housing, lingo and language and area analysis, feel free to reach out. We're literally doing 3 projects, same nature.
Okay, that's good to know. I think there's some draft language proposed about how we would define workforce housing. I think one of the challenges is identifying who would administer that, once it gets built on behalf of the village. I think that's always been the challenging.
That's where I think a lot of the proviso languages that's done on the federal level and some social impact investor level can be helpful guidance. It's already being done elsewhere, if you will.
Sure.
That's helpful. Yeah, thank you. So there's nothing further. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, no problem.
Public comments and discussion. If there's anyone online from the public, if they could raise their hand, and Sage can let them in. But I told by Sage that there is no one, so no public comments. I will, though, make some observation in terms of the last Board of Trustee public hearing when it regarded the initiative of the Planning Commission concerning private tree legislation. My observation is that we had in this room a lot of very good comments, really good participation. Obviously, people for, people against, some really good comments and observation and additions that were made to the thinking process. So that was helpful, and thank you to the public that came in for that. For me, what I realize is whilst we've been discussing this at the Planning Commission for several months, it was interesting to observe that some trustees didn't know. Fine. So we're going to remedy this by sending to the Board of Trustees meeting notes now. We've discussed it. But also what's evident is when we discuss issues like this one at a Planning Commission level, people generally who are in favor of what the Planning Commission is working on show up and participate, and those who are not don't know about it, who don't show up and only sort of discover things in a public hearing at a Board of Trustee meeting, which is kind of unfortunate. So we really want people to participate on ideas, to inform ourselves and everyone's views on topics. And this is precisely why we're sitting at a table now as opposed to the dais in the back of me, because we want public participation. And when I look at this room with not a single resident in a chair tonight, it kind of defeats the purpose. So we want the community to come in when we are discussing topics so that they're not surprised at the 11th hour when this reaches public hearings. We want their input. Positive, negative, debate, challenges would inform us to make sure that when we make recommendation, we have everybody's views on it that are reflected. And that's important to do. So I wanted to say that I understand there will be some revision to what was first proposed, thanks to all of this good input. I haven't seen the revisions. I know the next meeting is soon, forget when it is, with those revisions. But obviously, this is now in the hand of the trustees. They're the policy makers. We are the ones who make recommendations. So it's on their game now and no longer ours. So I wanted to say that. Is there anything else for tonight of things that we have on the docket that we're working on?
I was going to hold off to ask Jeannie offline, but we were members of the Southampton Chamber. Is there collaboration in that regard. If I'm opening up a Pandora's box, we can talk offline.
I think we should talk offline.
Okay, thank you.
So the Chamber of Commerce is for the town. They have a building in the village, and yeah, obviously is a useful participation for the town, I guess is the best way to say this. But yeah, it's well worth a discussion offline, absolutely.
We have a not-for-profit that I think can help seed the money then, if we want to focus on the village business development.
Now
It's
we can
called-
talk.
Yeah, it's called Inspire Growth New York, igrowny.org. We give out, they give out scholarships and housing and the environment, so this would be something I can recommend to the trustees to seed the first $1,000, I suppose, to the not-for-profit. We're actually doing that now with the Watermill Center, helping out with some of the landscaping and kind service costs
Oh,
from
interesting.
our staff.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, let's talk.
Okay. All right. On the, so just closing remarks for tonight's meeting. Both myself and Michelle our term on the Planning Commission are expiring at the end of June. It'll be up to the mayor at the organizational meeting to make decisions in terms of those two positions. What I've already said, and I wanted to share with you tonight to the mayor back in November, is that I was open, possibly whatever mayor is there at the time, and if I was considered to perhaps continue, however, not in the position of a chair. I just have way too much workload, both professionally, personally, trustee of the library and other things. So we're going to have to find someone amongst, whether Michelle or I are reappointed, and if we wish to be reappointed, assuming that for a minute, amongst the five of us, we're going to have to figure out the chairmanship of the meeting. And I want to say this in advance so that no one is surprised by that. But it certainly has been a privilege for me to chair this group up to now, but it's time for a new generation to do this work. There's a lot of it, and for me to continue certainly to help in thinking things through and being a forward-thinking body as we have been. We've done a lot of things over the last few years. There's no need to enumerate them, but I think that's really important to continue the strength of the Planning Commission. In earnest, when I joined the Planning Commission, it was sort of perceived not only by the trustees but a lot of people in the community as not a particularly vibrant group. I think we've changed that dramatically. You all can hear a lot of the really good initiatives that we're working on, and that needs to continue. But someone's going to have to take on, and that's just a normal course of nature. So I just wanted to, so every one of you guys to think about that as to how best to execute this sort of transition forward.
Well, I've known you for less than a year. I don't know anybody who's worked harder at the role than you have. I really admire you.
Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of
I know
work.
it
So
is.
everybody
You're
could do this at their own pace,
everywhere.
for and on behalf of the community. And the other subject, we have elections coming up. If you remember, the commission was one of the initiator of some important topics which had to do with trustee compensation and benefit, including health care, which was a big issue amongst residents. We've put the topic forward and it was dealt with. Another topic that we put forward, and not particularly successfully, was the electoral cycle. Certainly, a lot of residents are not particularly happy to have to go to the polls every year. They're kind of sick of it. And to change it to every other year, like the town does it, would mean some different length of terms, possibly for trustees, from 2 year to longer, in order to match an electoral cycle that is every 2 year. We had made that proposal through a task force, and I think when the Planning Commission looked at this task force recommendation, where we failed is to recognize that doing this through a permissive referendum using the business model of Garden City when they did this a few years ago and made that proposal was not a particularly good underwriting on our part. And it's clear that a proposition on a ballot at some point in the election cycle over the next couple of years would be a better way to do it. And certainly that would, if you went that path and followed what some of the recommendations we had from our own task force on the topic, would mean possibly recommendation would result in trustee terms moving from 2 years to 4 years. Obviously, the benefit to that is that a trustee doesn't spend 2 or 3 months out of these 2 years campaigning, but working for the community that is putting tax dollars behind that, and really staying focused with longer-term thought process rather than pandering as opposed to governing when it comes to certain situations. And I know for me personally, I would not be interested in serving in conditions like that of a 2-year term. So that's certainly something that we had worked on, and I hope will be revived with a proposition as opposed to a recommendation we had made which didn't fly, which was a permissive referendum. So that's that for that topic. I have nothing further, so I'd like to make a motion, unless anybody else does, make a motion to end this meeting, adjourn, and schedule the next meeting for Thursday, April 3rd at 5:30 in this village hall. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeannie. All in favor?
Aye.
And I want to thank especially Michel Bourgain, because I know it's currently 12:08 where he is. It shows the dedication of everyone on the Planning Commission and the work that everyone is doing. So thank you, Michel, and I wish everyone a good evening.